welcome back. Let's bring on our roundtable for today. Good to have back with us Portia Roberson, the CEO of Focus Hope, former Republican Congressman Dave Trott, and joining us from his vacation, very kind to do that up north, Chad Livengood, senior editor for Crain's Detroit Business. Gang, good to have you here. Congressman Trott, I'd like to start with you and your thoughts on this dust up now. The president just keeps hammering away at how fraudulent he believes mail-in voting. We've just now talked to Jocelyn Benson about how big that's going to be, the portion of the vote coming in Michigan. Is the president just trying to lay the groundwork here to make us all suspect that the vote isn't a fair one? Or what do you think is really happening?
Well, I think he's laying the groundwork to explain his potential loss in November. And he can't change the election. Congress sets the election. So he's talking about something that he doesn't have the power to do. I think there'll be problems with the election. I think that people are going to be afraid to vote because of the pandemic. I think the mail-in ballots will take an inordinate amount of time to count. But the fact of the matter is we need to have an election, and the results will be the results. And if the president thinks that it was subject to fraud or some kind of rigged election, then he can write a book about it and go hold a rally and tell people that he was robbed after he's out of office.
Portia, you got a smile on your face there.
I like everything the congressman said. He can go write a book about it because I think there's no question that he foresees how this election is going to turn out. Now he's tainting the waters by saying how much this election is going to be rigged. Look, we've conducted elections for years and years and years and years, and we've managed to do it through a whole lot of other turmoils. We'll do it through this. I think people will be sort of dismayed by how long it's going to take. It's going to take a little longer than usual. You know, those of us who are junkies and like to keep refreshing our computer and see what the election results are and are watching you all to tell us what the election results are, we're going to have to live through the night and probably a couple of weeks without really knowing for sure. But we'll get there, and we'll make sure that Donald Trump is packing his bag soon thereafter.
Well, as one of the two reporters on this conversation, I'm not comfortable forecasting anything that's going to happen yet in November because I have no idea what the world landscape is going to look like. Chad, I'm going to guess you're with me?
Yeah, Devin, I got out of the predictions business in 2016. But, yeah, I mean, the president has been framing mail-in voting as bad, but absentee voting good. A little bit of a hint here. Absentee voting is predominantly done by mail. It has been for at least 4 decades in Michigan. We just have greatly expanded it. The voters of Michigan voted in two years ago to amend the Constitution to allow anyone to vote absentee by mail. You can also take an absentee ballot to the clerk's office. Now, that is actually coming into focus for Tuesday's primary because the mail is running late. I mean, it's been running late for months now. Yep. Anybody who's just gets a normal subscription that comes, even Crain's is sometimes running late in people's inbox or mailboxes. And so because of that, if you have an absentee ballot still, you need to go take it to the clerk by hand on Saturday or Monday because it's not going to arrive if you drop it in the mail on Monday. And that is an issue that has to get worked out. But at the same time, we're going to have more people voting absentee than ever, possibly 1/3 of the entire vote, and that could delay counting in this primary, and this is going to be the first run at it, and then also could delay counting in the November election.
Let me ask you all then about the pandemic. This is part of the pandemic response. Congressman, we've got people being urged to vote by mail. We have not seen as many people being urged not to protest because of the pandemic. We kept things open. In fact, right now, I think a lot of people are a little confused that we've closed the bars but opened the casinos. And this, I guess, circles us back to Michigan. But what are your thoughts on the way that we're responding to the pandemic right now?
Well, it's a fragmented response that's wholly inadequate. I have great empathy for our governor and our president even because on some level, if we had put the country into a complete lockdown like we should have, then the numbers would have been low and businesses would have been destroyed and people would have said, well, gosh, that was much to do about nothing. On the other hand, if we don't shut down, then the numbers are awful, then it's his fault as well. But, fundamentally, if you look at the testing in this country and what's happened in other countries, it's really the best example of how we've failed. We needed a national response to coordinate all of this. And when Donald Trump realized that he couldn't revive the economy to save his reelection, he punted to the states and municipalities and that's been a great disservice to the entire country.
Portia, your job is largely to help people find work. I can't imagine a worse job to have in the middle of what we're going through right now. What are your thoughts on the way we're responding?
Well, yeah, at one point we had 40 million people out of work. We're going to lose unemployment. I think we did lose it the end of this week or beginning of this past week. It's going to be difficult. I mean, there are going to be people who are going to have to go into new industries because the industries that they were previously in don't have the jobs for them anymore. And we're going to, of course, have new people who need to go into work. So it's going to be a difficult challenge. Certainly, we, want to do all the training we can. But the most important thing that we focused on at Focus Hope is to make sure that anybody who comes to our doors actually gets placed in employment. So we're working with across the board, all kinds of industries to put, like I said, new people coming into employment, but also some of those people who can't go back to the jobs they held previously.
Yeah. Chad, what are your thoughts on the way the governor has been handling this so far? The polls would seem to suggest that most Michiganders are on her side, but you have to wonder what the statute of limitations is on that.
I think right now where we're at is all focus is on getting kids back to school. 1.5 million school children back in classrooms the first Tuesday after Labor Day. And that is the Herculean challenge right now facing more than 800 school districts. Yeah. And so the restrictions we have in place now, yes, we're trying to keep the virus from making a comeback, but we're mostly trying to figure out how to get schools reopened. That is a linchpin of economic activity in this country. And if you do not have those kids in school, they are home, their parents are working from home, or their parents continue to have to be laid off or unemployed, and you continue to have 1 million people in the state of Michigan on unemployment, and we would just be in continued economic malaise for months and maybe years to come. So, the governor's decision this week to reopen the casinos, but then close bars up north for indoor service. That was a head scratcher for some, and she hasn't shown the data yet. I mean, House Speaker Lee Chatfield kind of questioned yesterday on Twitter. He said, "Is this about what's the science and data, or is this political science that's being executed here?" And so the governor has to answer questions for that. But at the same time, we all really ought to be in favor of trying to get schools reopened, I think.
No doubt. I got a bunch of other things I still want to get to. So let's take a quick break. We'll continue with more. This is Flashpoint on Local 4.